Good morning, everyone. You're listening to Trace Elements, live, of course, with myself, Tracy. And we're live on Trace Elements Radio and where the heck else? Revolution Radio, Studio A, Wolf Spirit Radio, I think. So, how are you guys doing? We were going to have a guest today, Tony King, but he's going to have to come back with us in a little while, just because he's been working a lot. So, brother's got a job. Gotta allow that to happen, because it doesn't very much, you know. Quote of the day. Let's start with that. The Force will always be with you. From the Walt Disney Company, which actually equals Obi-Wan Kenobi. Not really hidden well there. We were going to talk about health, but since it's just me and you, I'm going to scare the crap out of you. Well, probably just scare the crap out of myself. So I watched Childhood End. Did you watch that? Childhood's End. 3 parts. Deep, esoteric teaching. As a matter of fact, it's pretty much everything I've told you thus far. All the stories, all wrapped into one. I just loved who the Overlord was. So I don't want to ruin that for you. I want to give you a chance to watch it, and then we can go over it. We'll go over it and talk about how I was right all along. Na. I've been looking at the news today. A lot of it, Chief Charles Tudog and I will go over tomorrow on the Heart Drum, because it's native news, talking about the sexual abuse of women and children here in this country, Canada, of course, Kanakota by the first name, and what's going on across this continent. But we have to bring it back to what's going on across this world, what has always gone on, the same thing that's gone on. Imprisonment through the dark, conspiracy, I guess, perception, perhaps. But there is a Gnostic adage that says knowledge is power. Of course, like everything, such a notion is multi-layered, multi-dimensional. For the moment, let's look at power. Social, political, historical, and sexual. I was saying on Tuesday, everything on this planet, every reaction, down to the smallest chemical, is sexual. Everything is sexual. But because of what's gone on here, what's happened here, we can argue about how long it's been going on. I personally don't think it's more than 2,000 years tops. So much has been made up, it's almost impossible to find history. And who knows if it's being changed on every day. Well, we know it's being changed every day. They lie. By the way, you know the shooter thing I was telling you guys about? The last one. Well, not the last one. The last 2 or 3 ago. A couple weeks ago, anyway. Fake pictures. Most of the media has not got that they're not actually Muslim. They're Hindu. Totally different head. So, we'll see. I'm glad every so often that some people are actually doing some reading and looking into stuff, it's a good thing. So, from the perspectives, or these perspectives, we can argue that true power concedes nothing. Every single human freedom, human right, protective legislation that's in society, wherever you live right now, was fought for by individuals, collectives, who were brave enough to stand up against the terrifying and overwhelming odds that we are seeing right now. Every positive social reform, be it the rights of women, children, sexual, social, racial minorities, was fought for by brave men and women, putting consistent, organized pressure on the existing power structure, protests, decentralized collectives, new community alliances, multi-layered grassroots activism. Sometimes these warriors of freedom paid for such bravery with their lives. Today I suggest the ruling predator elites, the power-broking oligarchs, are purging such truths from history, or else repackaging these proofs as something toothless, convections, largely nostalgic in nature, as if it's not true and could never be true. It's frustrating, I know. I mean, the man who exposed CIA for putting cocaine in the black communities, his name was Gary Webb, author of Dark Alliance. We've read some stuff from that. His book exposed the CIA smuggling crack into Los Angeles, while the Reagan administration shielded the drug dealers from prosecution. December 10th, 2004, he committed suicide by falling down an elevator shaft onto some bullets. Okay, not that bad. But he did shoot himself twice with a shotgun in the back of his head. This is where we're at right now. This is what's happening right now. These warriors of freedom are paying for such bravery with their lives. Today, we are seeing this faster and faster. We are seeing more hate. I mean, full-on hate. Disgusting hate. Acts of racism, which I thought were done. I did. I really thought it was over. For the most part, of course. I haven't been so naive that I thought, we're all safe. But I really thought, I wanted to believe in what people are telling me, that we are evolving. That there's some higher power. That people are really smartening up. But in Yemen, 42 Blackwater mercenaries were just killed. In Nairobi, there is horrific violence, once again being sponsored by the UN. Inhuman cruelty, the crimes against Muslims has hit a record level. All-time high since the ridiculous attacks in France and California, which are totally fake, which took almost no intelligence. If I could see it, You need to be like sitting there drilling at the side of your mouth, rocking back and forth, sucking your thumb under, I don't know, maybe in the closet, maybe people hiding in the closet. I mean, it took no intelligence at all to see how fake that was. Some places of worship have to have, they're hiring armed guards now, or ask for federal government to help. But unfortunately, asking the federal government is like saying, please, we in the chicken coop need a couple more foxes. Ridiculous. The violence that's happening right now. Ridiculous. That people are being triggered so easily, so repeatedly. The violence against women, mindless hatred is what we're seeing. I see no enlightenment at this on this planet. I don't see it. I don't see it even a little bit. I have to listen. I don't have to listen. I hear other shows, and people they're arguing whether it's okay to have a black guy playing a mythical freaking guy in a movie. Whether it's okay. You look at this planet and you see there's a lot of brown people. Brown-haired, brown-eyed, brown skin. As a matter of fact, most are combinations of brown. You, I don't care how blonde you are, how blue your eyes are a freaking combination of brown. That's why you have freckles. You don't have freckles by accident. It's the color you would have been if you didn't get the mutation. Plain and simple. I've written about the predators, the machinations of the Victorian predator elites in Britain that arose out of the Industrial Revolution, and how they set the blueprint for what's going on right now. We still have the exact same ruling class. The ruling class of the 20th century is a hybrid. Intelligence, military, occult, banking, corporate, media. Now I realize it's going to sound like I'm just repeating, but you need to get this. You really need to get this. And it's pretty obvious to me people aren't getting it. I find it frustrating, obviously, because it's horrifically complex now. So maybe I should just simplify it, because we have no other choice. But we need to be mindful of how we simplify meaningful things. To be careful not to throw away some stuff in the process. Researchers in this alternative media might quiver in the presence of the eye atop a pyramid, in fear and a little bit pulsating thrill. But society isn't actually top-down. It is not a vertical hierarchy. Society is lateral, horizontal. Society is a web. Power, control, influence. They don't flow the way we think they flow. Just ask any occultist, any psychic. Like all things, power behind the social control is just another form of lateral communication. Communication flows from mind to mind, eye to eye. It passes through the collective mind. You feel it before you know it. Control, then, is a trick. An incredibly powerful trick. They don't need your money. Feel that with me. They don't. The reason why you're poor, and I'm guessing you're probably poor or sick right now because you're listening to me. Here in Canada, it's 12. Why isn't your butt at work? I'm not putting you down. My butt obviously is not at work. I'm sitting here playing with you guys. Sick category. Now, a hierarchy could be said to exist only as an icon. It is an image of itself within the perception of what? Imaginating sentience. Bringing something that's not alive. It's our collective consciousness allowing them to do this. They don't need your money. They don't need, and they've never needed to use oil. They've never needed to frack this place to death. They've never needed to drill. They've never needed to rape. They've never needed to torture. Except they're doing it more and more. And we, you and I, are helping this. Human culture is being conjured moment to moment, mind to mind, imagination to imagination in a symphony of interconnectedness. The real question is how this lateral communication is manipulated to ensure the illusion of some vertical power, to ensure that the same rulers rule while others suffer. This is master and slave. This is the drives on your computer. This is how all things work. Top and bottom. I'd argue that the answer is an application of extreme violence under this profane icon, this Archon, if you will. This illusion. It is an illusion. And I'm not saying what you're seeing isn't real. That's not what I mean either. I don't. The master and slave drive on your computer are the exact same thing. They are no better than us. They. Us. There is no they, us. There is us. And we are picking sides. One to be the controller and one to be the controlled. Master and slave. If you're psychotic and predatory enough to truly want power, to want control over people on a massive scale, this illusion, this supremacy, this want, this state of constant want and need, I will never have enough. Eventually, you're going to have to back up your rhetoric. Venerate your icon with violence, the threat of more spilled blood. Violence is nothing if not a manifestation of something symbolic, a hierarchy, symbolic inequality. It is symbolic. They are no different. As a matter of fact, a lot of they are pretty darn ugly, you must admit. And this is truth on both a local and social level. I don't want to coexist. We are no longer equals. My story will conquer yours. You will suffer. This kind of psychology is basically radical fundamentalism at its core. The kind of thinking behind everything we're seeing now, all the militant terrorist groups. It's also the basic mindset behind this materialism, behind the global power elites, behind every slavery in all of its forms, predatory, dehumanizing psychology that is essentially vampiric in nature and must be made to manifest through the use of brutal force, violence, sinister propaganda. It's the physics and the politics of desire, despair, fear. It is the English language, which all of theirs. This language is perfect to explain what's happened to us. This language has no solidity to it. You say one thing, you can mean something completely another. Bad can be good. Good could be boring. Earth could be your heart. Terror could be terra. It's made specifically. The older languages, well, when you look at them, you look how they're laid out. They're mostly star constellations. They are. Look at them. You can take the little pieces of their language and put it on a map and say, hey, they mean there, specifically. This year that we're coming into, 2016, for our Bible watchers out there, go to Hebrews and read the crap out of that. What's known is they're almost out of time. And I'm kind of wondering if the wealthy are deciding Mars is going to be where they're going, because you won't be able to afford it, but they will, because we're allowing this power structure. We've allowed it to continue. Now, I'm not saying we could have had utopia. Maybe we did. I think we did. There's many who think that humans can't survive without horror. Seriously, that we need to struggle. Maybe that's true. I'm not actually even against that. I know that when I fight for something, like fight really hard, really want it, the challenge in my body, I know I brought on. I absolutely brought this on. I feel good when I can get up and I fought it. I think a lot of us have this nature. It's not what's given to you so much. And when you see the power elites, they're poured. Yes, they have a lot of stuff. They can buy a lot of toys. But they usually find somebody poor so they can watch them enjoying it. You hear this story a lot. Not just one side, of course. Raped them accidentally. Did you see that stupid story? Yeah, I raped her, but it was an accident. Really. When you rape, you're not connecting. This is power. They feel nothing. That's what the problem is. They feel nothing. So when you think, if I just had that, you don't want that. They have nothing. The stronger these people are, the less they really have. And I know it sounds like I'm being metaphysical. We like our stuff, our shiny things. I obviously do, but when you get everything, you appreciate nothing. You can only slice a lust for power, violence, control, a few different ways. The language it speaks is crude, it's dull, it's unimaginative, which is exactly why it needs the blood and the life of others to sustain itself. These are sigils of the divine fire, believe it or not. In this feeling, insight, if you will, concerning the blood-dimmed icons of hierarchy and the control, lateral or horizontal communication to ensure vertical supremacy. Under the banner of such icons is the dark heart of social control, of warfare, modern slavery at its most naked. I believe it's more, though. I believe it's also part of the occulted meaning behind the symbol of the cross. And why, said black actor, you realize he's an actor, right? He's an actor. Does have a lightsaber now on the side of a cross. They know what's happening. The cross isn't a Christian symbol, you know. Yeah, it is now, if you want to stretch it as much. But the crucifix that this son was placed on between two thieves is interesting enough. That should tell you a lot. I'm telling you, read Hebrews. If he brewed the coffee, I'd be happy. You know, but it's extremely ancient. It's a magical symbol. It's the Chi-Rho. It's rocky. And both acknowledgement and an argument against and for polarity. I think the symbol of the cross is the meeting point of two realms. Nexus, alchemical furnace of creation. The cross, again, doorway, a gate, a portal. I think those who wield it would do well to remember something of its awesome power, because they obviously, even they don't know everything. They don't call themselves awake. We think we are. You're not. They call themselves the sleepwalkers. Because if you're awake, you don't need to be here. You don't. And this knowledge, this meeting place of the vertical and the lateral, this kiss between heaven and earth, can enslave entire worlds when perverted. The symbol of the cross is also the tree, representing all realms, the heaven, the underworld, the earth. Matter of fact, in the Amazon, the oldest tree, so that's our ancestor, there would be no us if there were not trees, was just cut down accidentally with an axe. Well, not an axe, but power tools. You know what I mean. Symbolic and physical. Things happen on multiple realms at the same time. This is the perversion. But when used truthfully, as a force for reconciliation, innermost light, gnosis, if you will, it can offer us a way out of the exact same slavery that it has caused. And we need to see that. A symbol, the cross, has been used for more death. People don't walk around with a friggin' gun symbol, usually. But the cross they have, and slaughtered as they went. And you know that I still have a problem with, okay, so you worship this guy as the sun, which is cool if you want to do that, and you wear the symbol of his death on around your neck. symbolically crossing where you speak, symbolically shutting the doorway. The throat also symbolically connects the body and the brain. It's a very interesting thing if you wear a cross on your neck. It is powerful. It can be very, very powerful. It absolutely is very powerful. But if you don't know what you're doing, like that song Superstition, Stevie Wonder, if you believe in something you don't understand, you will suffer. And of course, everywhere you go, you bring suffering. Every religion on this planet has brought nothing but death. So no, I'm not a big fan of it. Death and control. This is what it's for. This is what it's always been for. But if you want to believe in something, I get that too. We don't want to be alone. But, the cool thing is if you walk outside, you will see that you aren't alone. If you mastered your sleep, you would know 100% you're not alone. In the house, by yourself. You're not alone, ever. There's enough things living on us and inside us that we are an entire cosmos unto ourselves. So, the path to slavery and the path to freedom, exact same path. When you stand up and speak the truth, your truth, and of course, physically on a local, literal level, when you fight for freedom, workers' rights, health care, anti-austerity measures, affordable housing, positive social reform for the guy next door, for the woman next door, go and help in the soup kitchen, just as the generations before you did, you honor the dead. You actually become the meeting place between heaven and earth. You become the doorway, even symbolically. Killing that tree, can they kill all of us? Because you too are a tree. You're a little tree-like. You should check your DNA. It's a little bit planty, animally. So if knowledge is indeed power, in a variety of contexts, then what kind of spiritual power and knowledge has been lost to us? And I'm not talking about some imaginary magical wisdom tradition, some unproblematic and easily codified elite spellcraft. I'm talking about something you can experience, a knowledge, something deep. I'm talking about the revolution and revelations of the Magi itself. Too far? Do I go too far today? Just wait, I'm just getting warmed up. Oh, hey, by the way, Revolution Radio is having a drive, of course. Christmas is coming. So I offered if you put your name on a donation, $50 or more, I will send you a little copy of Tracey singing Santa Baby. I'm going to have to drink for that, but I'll do it. They've been so supportive of me, so, if I can help out, I obviously will. And if you have kids and want a message from Santa, that's where you go. So, again, paying back. This is a relationship with spiritual implications. To be able to help frees you, even if it's just a little bit. And this isn't some ad hoc ritualism, nor is it some simply dry, empty scholarship I'm talking about. It's akin to a radical, steadfast dedication to your own private art and evolution. A gnosis that sacrifices neither its rigor nor its joy. And that incorporates intellect, evidence, trial and error, a relationship that also honors the sacrifices of your forebears, the ancient ones, be they standing ones or not, and the nameless dead too. This is the kind of knowledge that's been lost, purposeful re-enchantment. Or what Gordon White at the Chaos Magic website, and I read it, very interesting. It's called Rune Soup, I think. He calls it the restoration of context. After all, there is a qualitative, contextual difference between raw data and knowledge, isn't there? The former is information. It lacks in anything that you could actually use. But the latter is information mediated, processed through the human soul. The praxis, nuance, context, acuity. It's this acuity, it's this lucidity that an active working relationship with the spiritual can recover. A passionate keenness of perception, unconquered creativity. Remember, a true working relationship can at times be dangerous, scary, disturbing. There are unseen shadow realms around us, as well as unseen realms of light. Both. I'm serious. Work on your dream state. You'll be surprised what creeps into your daytime visions. And the true practitioner must have a working knowledge of both light and dark, up and down, and the continuities between them. Your heart and your head, balanced equally in both hands. The above and the below, balanced equally. This is the teeter-totter. You are the triangle. This is what we're supposed to be doing. Helping each other, even if it hurts. And it always hurts. You know this too. Love hurts more than anything else. The ones you love can devastate you, can bring you down, can tear you into shreds. The more you love, the more you can be hurt. So just being loving is not a simple path. People act like it is. They talk like it's just, we're going to be tripping off into the fluffy space. But the fluffy space is full of meteors that are hitting us right now. There will be wondrous revelation, terrifying, and unsettling encounters. Walking such a path is not for everyone, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be. These notions can be applied in artistic, creative endeavors, and not just the explicitly magical. Doesn't have to be spiritual. If you sense some kind of deeper truth in these words, if you yearn to recover what has been lost, you must discover your own tools for yourself. Make them for yourself. Don't rely on me, God, certainly don't listen to me. Find something for yourself. Prepare yourself to step into a world alive with energies, entities, resonant fictions, sublime truths. It is the very thing the monsters are afraid of, the archons, the vampires, the demons, and their human familiars. They are afraid of you at your most dynamic, your most unfettered. So Archon. For me, the very word opens up some kind of psychic, linguistic divide, a rift. It creates a host of things, interconnected meanings that encompass fact, fiction, history, myth, psychology, the big fear, and historically speaking, we don't need to argue the fact that there have always been very real power elites and their enforcers and their administrators who serve them. Pop culture, our movies, our TV shows, our comics are filled with these sinister, archonic figures. Pop culture is no less potent than a myth, than our classic tales, as we have explored through superhero perspectives. Because it always draws on the same sources. The agents of the Matrix, the strangers of Dark City, Captain Pinbacker in Danny Boyle's Sunshine, Brando Kurtz in Apocalypse Now, the Overlook Hotel in Kubrick's The Shining, in my opinion, all draw heavily, explicitly, from the new Gnostic mythology. In modern fiction, the archons and their demiurge have come to us in the forms of ravens, black dogs, sinister children with the black eyes, insidious serial killers, malevolent AI, mysterious alien races, fallen angels, interdimensional spirit beings. I get it. I do. I even get why Gnosticism has now become some kind of edgy underground vibe. To those with the insight, the acumen, to get it, what it really means. Because the moment you take this seriously, like most ideas, it becomes frightening. But frightening in a rather peculiar way. It's some uneasy crap. It's all about to get real kind of way. There's stuff in life that's just too painful. It's too horrific to process directly. And I imagine for some of the more astute thinkers out there that Gnosticism might be painful in not a dissimilar way. Because however you cut it, however many edges you try to smooth away, all of this Gnosticism, this various permutations, all these religions, takes the idea of spiritual slavery very, very seriously. In many of the texts, in all religions, all across the world, this idea of spiritual slavery is often symbolized by the intellectual state of sleep or ignorance, and is a literal act of rape, which is why there's so much rape going on. The Archons, the authority of darkness. attempt to rape Eve in the garden, as they later attempt to rape her daughter, Noria. She petitions heaven to spare her from this horrific act, and is visited by Elileth, a powerful angel of the Aeons. It's an interesting story. We should do that one day. But Elileth tells Noria that she isn't just a fallen shadow creature, but she has the spirit of truth emanating within her, a fragment of the imperishable light, and is therefore a holy, immortal being of the pleroma. Interesting word. Noria has a mother of wisdom, Sophia, within her, in the form of Zoe, of life itself. This means that the authorities of darkness despise her in their jealousy. This insight is critical. It is crucial, because I personally believe these insights, it cuts through the very heart of Gnosticism, which all of its permutations, it cuts to the very heart of what's going on, which is the fact that knowledge, enlightenment, emancipation isn't just a state, it's a process. It's a process of becoming free, of literally seeing the truth. Inherent within this notion is the implications that the illusionary world of matter, the realm of chaotic shadow form overseers by the blind demiurge, can still be reconnected, transformed, or taken back into the pleroma, into the infinite, the imperishable light. You can once again become the unbegotten. Nothing brought you here. You brought you here. This is admittedly my own personal interpretation of some pretty hardcore variations of every single religion out there, every single Gnostic cosmology out there. And I know I take things a little sideways rather than up and down. But what this suggests to me is that even the demons and the dark angels of Samuel still cry out to the Holy Spirit, as Noria does, and ask for their insight and their sight to be restored. Insight. It's not an idea. It's where you're supposed to be living. Because through our eyes we communicate. That's why I brought that up Tuesday. To no longer be avatars of Samuel, blinded as he is blind, but to become more than shadow soul, to become independent agencies, gifted with a fragment of the pleroma within them, by awakening to the reality of the pneuma, the divine spark, the Zoe, the breath of life. Here, amid this night of the black suns, I often refer to this luminous pneuma as an inner light, or the midnight sun. Gnostic lore, the female, feminine Sophia, the masculine father of the entity, want to redeem everything in creation by bringing it all into the true light. They must merge. Again, everything is sexual except for sex here. Sex here is no longer sexual for the most part. Now again, with everything, there's exceptions to these rules. And in some variants of Gnostic cosmology, which most religions are now, because they were written that way for a purpose, but it is, because of that, the presence of a Christ or Christ-like figure who allows Sophia to reconnect with Logos. Her Zizagi, the male counterpart, and thus restore the balance to the cosmos. We see this story over and over again, even in our demigods with tights now. But what all of this lore implies is that the Archons are, in a sense, artificial. They have souls born from the realm of chaos, shadow world, and are technically sentient. But they are also cold, unfeeling, spiritless. If Sophia's desire is to redeem the entire fallen world of form, and in some Gnostic variants also redeem herself, then it must be possible for even the Archons to embrace enlightenment, to awaken, to achieve gnosis, to transform themselves into beings of this imperishable light. In fact, this happens to the son of the demiurge in hypostasis of the Archons. The Sabaoth witnesses his father, Yabadoth. It kind of sounds like Yabba-dabba-doo, which is probably why they use that name. But it's another name for Samuel, along with Sackless. Being cast down into the abyss of chaos by a powerful angel of the divine fire. The dark chaos is the water, so he goes from a fire being, he's thrown in the water. It's created by a single breath from Sophia. Still the same story. And then seeing this internment of his blind, power-obsessed father, we'll continue with this.
Yep, good to go.
Welcome back, everyone. I just wanted to share a little funkiness from Tribe Called Red. Good to go. I love those guys. Too funky. Yes, they are. So, anyway, we're talking about Samuel, along with Sackless, being cast down into the abyss of chaos by a powerful angel of divine fire. So again, fire and water. In seeing this, blind, power-obsessed father, Sabaoth renounces his part in his father's fake, false claim to the supreme Godhead and prays to Zoe and Sophia for redemption. His prayers are answered, and he is taken up, made gatekeeper of the portal between the Pleroma and our shadowy, chaotic world and word of forms. Personally, this idea really comforts me. The darkness can eventually become light. That a cancer doesn't just have to be cut out, it can eventually be healed completely, or changed, transformed, or in a more mainstream Christian sense, a fallen angel can become a true angel of light once more. Our sight can be restored. Our wings can be returned to us. Our real, tangible world seems more archonic, more apocalyptic than ever. We are experiencing terrorism, war, the promise of war, mass migrations, famine, disease, and grinding, unending poverty, slavery, rape, distortions. It's not exactly a snapshot of human civilization at its best. And we could argue that there are various global elites who are currently attempting to massively centralize their power, thus extending their reach over the control of your life, our lives. We could argue that in doing so they are attempting to hollow out all of the joy and purge any sense of mystery from human experience. This is the alien. Interesting question I got, and I won't say who it is. Are there aliens? Yes, there's aliens. We are surrounded by aliens. I don't mean from another country. I mean people who no longer can feel. You see it all the time. People who have no connection to each other. No connection to the earth. Certainly no connection even to their own children, because they can do things and not realize that that's really sick. People who are supposedly enlightened too, which makes me laugh. But they don't connect. You see it. The ones who are just having sex, and it's more like they're bumping each other, and it's a freaking accident, or they have to rape to feel anything, or they have to somehow abuse to feel anything. That is alien. And we are surrounded by them. Having someone who can feel is so rare that you feel alone. I'm sure you do. I'm sure there's many feel alone right now. But you're not. Know that you're absolutely not. So, the power elites, in their reductive, essentially atomized worldview, the closest things to God, gods, or unknowable forces with any agency are themselves. The power elites sell this hubris to us as rigorous science, thwarting all primitivism, all superstition and fallacy, and yet doing so virtually godlike. Anthrocentric power. You don't have to be a genius to see the religious desire behind this kind of materialism, this materialist fundamentalism, the logical conclusions of its worldview. Alien, AI. So this highly I'm drinking coffee. I love coffee so much. Exclusivist paradigm. Devoid of all magical thinking, we are a race of purely biological entities on the cusp of a transhuman critical mass, a singularity that ushers the blending of biology and technology, man and machine. It is a fetish. It is a fetishized cosmology. It assures us that human beings are destined to become quasi-artificial, intelligent superbeings, a parahuman AI that will eventually go off-world, journey through the stars. These elites don't mean everyone. They don't mean third-world inhabitants, or even you and me. Other than the AIs and the aliens and the elitists who are listening to me, and high five, my brothers. But their transhumanist Prometheus will only share this digital fire with the elect, the sleepwalkers, the truly powerful, the very highest in the land. The rest of us will be used, as now, to feed the new race of synthetics, to maintain the infrastructure that supports their demiurgic AI, to which these elitists, these synthetics, will fervently supplicate themselves to, kneeling with open mouths. It's all complete nonsense, of course. It's an indulgent, exclusivist, horror fantasy, freak show. But we can see how this kind of thinking is the logical extension of the human imagination trapped within this hierarchical, archonic system. Wherever you live, whatever religion you follow, what color your skin is. This is what an Archon's idea of apotheosis might look like. Even today, in this grim real world, mainstream culture seems determined to think like an Archon, an artificial intelligence, a spiritless shadow entity. The mainstream? Not much worse, to be honest, than a lot of the alternative we're hearing now. But it goes to any lengths to reject nuance, subtlety, context. Just like the elites who have colonized their minds, appropriated their spaces with the average mainstream intellectual, is invited to see things in the most extreme polarities. In virtual binary, yes or no, 0 and a 1. The computer language of ancient Hebrew. Oh yes, it's computer language. The more modern one, well, that actually maps the stars. We'll go into it another time. But all old languages did that. First, there is binary. Before that, we don't need to. We don't need to use those things. And then, of course, there is the stars. That's all religions, that's all peoples, that's everywhere. So everything, either everything is a conspiracy or nothing is. These are ones who deal in absolutes. And since those who question authority and officialdom and believe in conspiracies are obviously idiots or mentally ill, therefore nothing at all could ever be a conspiracy. But the truth is that corruption is nothing more than the visible manifestation of conspiracy. In order to deny the fact that we are being manipulated in extremely sinister ways, we must ignore political, financial, corporate corruption, evidence of which is all around us and growing, more insidious by the moment. So I believe this clinging to denial in the face of overwhelming evidence creates fractions, schisms in the human psyche, in our basic being. What others have called cognitive dissonance. I believe it's this dissonance that can breed all the psychopathic things that we are seeing. Children now are precious ones. The ones who come in here enlightened, by the way, but the children are being screwed up so young now, they are becoming violent in ways I've never even heard of. And this psychopathology, I guess the word, is in the general population. Feeling like a caged being. Seeing evidence of other caged beings. Not being allowed to articulate what you see will drive you mad. We think we express this dissonance as general pressures of modern society, like this is stress, like stress is a little word. And it's these social pressures, this poverty, this 0-hour contract, this austerity, this unaffordable housing, cuts to healthcare, cuts to social services, cuts to water, like the natives have in Canada. Places that have gone 20, 25 years without clean water in Canada, in this rich place, along with the overwhelming psychic pressure to conform and our biological pressure, which overrules all other pressures. It is to survive. That assures the continuing supremacy of this elitist system. It's the predator-prey, it's the master-slave system in which a self-appointed few control and feed on the many. It's a society in which civilization uses maintained third world slaves to build both its trinkets and its infrastructure, and sometimes to entertain. Fukushima, physical event and a metaphor. Look at how I've talked about that word on shows where I can say bad words. But F you isn't, you get the meaning. And it's a hideous form of social Darwinism in which only the most perverse, the most mercenary can even prosper here. You must be alien to prosper here. You must not have a feeling. You have things that look like feelings. You could say I love you. You can hold someone. You could look like you're getting into the moment, whatever that moment is. But you don't feel anything. You can't feel anything. And this is the heart of narcissism and the truth of the archonic reality. and every religion that we hear of now. That of manipulation as strategy for maintaining injustice, imbalance, inequality. It is a false system of power, vampiric, cannibal culture, orchestrated, strategized oppression. Just as in the Gnostic lore, when the Archons become enamored with Sophia's reflection as she peered into the waters of the abyss, so has human society become narcissistic, petty, vacant, obsessed with eidolons and icons and phantoms, unable to capture their true spirit with these echoed images. We've lost touch, lost connection to the source, to ourselves, to each other, to everything that we are right smack dab in the middle of. The goings on here are incredible. And we continuously deify, glorify, and apologize for the hideous actions of our rulers. It's almost as if Gnosticism in all its forms is outlining the mechanics, the metaphysics, the kind of cosmogenic capture bonding, trauma bonding, that the human race encountered something it didn't understand, was captured, enslaved by it, and then fell deeply in love with it, worshipped it, would die to defend it and its authority. Now, the reason I take this archonic version of the Stockholm Syndrome or the capture bonding so seriously is partly because the shamans and the storytellers and the occultists of the cultures around this world, all over this world, have explicitly, implicitly suggested such notions for a long time. Not only do we defend our abusers, we turn them into politicians and priests and kings and gods. At the very least, this mythology is frighteningly elegant. A metaphor for the history of human societies that we're taught. It's what they want us to think about ourselves, and at best, it's some kind of truth, quasi-truth, the visible edges or remnants of a hidden or lost knowledge. A lost knowledge so incredibly powerful, so politically sensitive and spiritually inflammatory, bursting, that it might allow us to better understand our place in a dangerous and magical universe, and perhaps even offer that fabled, and I don't even know if people believe this word is possible anymore, emancipation. Like I've said before, and I want to repeat this poem because I want you to really feel it. There is darkness and there is darkness. One is ancient and womb-like, nourishing. The other is something else entirely. It is not only the absence of light, but the absence of hope. There are various magics lying in the hearts of humankind. Some of these magics are predatory. Some are darker, stranger, older than anything I can tell you. It's these magics the fallen ones fear, the archons, the demons, the vampires, and their familiars. They know little of this greater luminous darkness, this holy place of creation where love and joy and passion are forged and lived. They know little of how this magic is made manifest, how these deeper spells are cast. They say they do, but they do not. They know nothing of the rituals of this dark light. They will look and see their ruinous shadows, and if you look with greater eyes, you will see holy, impossible things, and voices will speak to you, strange, benevolent, and you will know. We are living evermore in a vast corporate art installation. On Tuesday I talked about Londinium, militant profiteering from a nightmarish, unrepentant British establishment, vulture economics, soft genocides, a litany of elite serving forecourts, landscapes, non-spaces, disguised barely as redevelopment, urban regeneration. They are inert, soulless, secular temples. This is what we are seeing built all around us. They are venerations of absence, living a sinister path and lining it into a glittering new. What? Feudalism is a nice way to put it. We are left drowning in a wake of dead zones, pastel-colored investment stylos for the unaccountable offshore power brokers, the ghost places that have ads that stripped the future. Things are losing their texture. Rough edges hewn in porcelain sheen are Photoshop consciousness. We deny the necessary imperfections of our very skin, deny our pores, our public discourses, the blind spots of our understanding, our politics intransient, our socialisms lacquered, laminated in a gross or in a gloss of something externally tragic, the eternal tragic presence. No past, re-forgotten, no future unproposed and unfinanced by our self-appointed Imagineers. London, colonized. It is a theme park with only the merest connection to history, or hard-fought or hard-won human rights. London, sworn at by many right now, but they went through this first. This is what we're all going through now. We can blame Londoners for having to fight for them. We can blame Americans for having to fight for them. We can blame all kinds of people for having to fight for them. But we as humans have a basic need: survival before death. And only as much history as can fit on a blue commemorative plaque, a struggle and achievement as tweet. social progress, or for the cash shufflers, a status update. Sound bites, far too unwieldy these days. It is the corporatism of human will, the vampirism of the counterculture. What would we even call it? Gentrification? Is that even a word? To make sameness. Shunt the poor and the minorities from a vibrant former ghetto. Made trendy through counterculture contributions through humans, and though humans will, under duress, use redevelopment as a guise, unaffordable housing, commodification of street cred, the unhoused, the abandoned poor now forced into some greater ghetto. This is happening. This ghetto's next generation, a little bit more broken, a little bit more colonized than us, a little bit more injured and used to the practices and the rituals of abuse. Still resisting in their way, still creating art, still creating culture, non-sanctioned soul-making, of course. The new ghetto eventually becomes vibrant, a hot spot, a scene. The vulture economists and developers notice, swoop in, steal that stuff, excuse me, make it trendy. Get some cleanly scrubbed, genetically favored guy to wear some of the clothes and say some of the music, and then the cycle begins again. Lather, rinse, repeat. Brixton, Soho, Camden, Whitechapel. Reclaiming our histories. We need to renegotiate our thresholds of what we're going to allow. Or else new cities will all be razor-edged, unlivable, and hanging above our heads. This is the revelation of the Magi. In the firelight, in the place just beneath the world, a young traveler makes marks in the dirt. He thinks how the firmaments were formed from stories. He knows that he's merely a poem wrapped in flesh, given cognizance for a brief time. The Magi had come here to this secret place long before him, and would return long after his death. The young traveler sits at the fire, gazing into the flames. It was said they followed a star. Some said them kings. Others called them sorcerers. Still, some prophets. Some even said they were ghosts, daemons, strange spirits from other realms. But they spoke of a birth, that human flesh had been touched at once by divine fire. This is where the story comes from, that a great light had been born upon the earth. Others had foretold of this coming of light, beings not like us, something so powerful that it would connect rather than crumble, love rather than hate, liberate rather than enslave. Tall tales fit only for children or the mad. But there are those who believe this story in a light that loved them, bled for them, would die for them. The young traveler smiles as he gazes into the fire. The flames are fracturing time, stories splintering into 1,000 mirrored shards of ancient knowledge, encoded glyphs, secret languages, dead histories, rousing beneath the living. The Magi are with him now, circling the fire. He feels kinship. He senses their resolve. They want to show him everything. So how do we live amongst the ruins of an ancient, half-remembered Holocaust? There's been a slaughter here. I can smell the blood in the open flesh. And some of us remember how they came, seething through the breach on the backs of wild photons. Grinning, hate clutch, before we ever imagined hate. They came through a hole in the sun. They tore at us from our star. They turned and marked the first brothers, the oldest twins, locked now in perpetual battle. This was the first war. It unfortunately has never ended. It began before we gave names to time and space. Since then, they've been crafting intricate cathedrals of absence, ushering hordes into fallow temples. These artisans, these dark and wicked things. We are the survivors of hideous abuse, and we have made legends. We have made fairy tales of the fallen. It's too hard to look them in the face, to remember what they've done. We make masks of their faces, or else shadows, where their faces might have been. We tell ourselves we don't believe in monsters. We doubt that a hunger could be so singular. And so we allow ourselves to forget, half forget, maybe not even that much. But some of us can't forget at all. Some of us came here to remember, to relight the holy places. Some of us came here to call them out by their names. They never should have touched us there, at our innermost place. And when they are done, when we were hollowed, they split the throat of Soul, the sun, the soldiers. I remember liquid light spilling across the block. I remember how they dipped their fingers and made sigils with the dying sun. We were not allowed to sleep. Instead, we were forced to witness the engineering of a cold and false light, an altar, an altered star. That is all an altar could ever be, something altered. But these wicked things that control the light, they are not boundless. They are not fearless. They fear the lovers, the friends, the families, the connected. They fear most the ones who can still see them, the ones who are not blinded in the first falling, or else miraculously have regained their sight. This I'm seeing. They fear the ragged. Some of us still shine with the memory of a greater destiny. Some of us brighter than they realize and darker than they think. Some of us live to hunt them with one purpose. And in this hunt, we may unshackle the human spirit and restore the ancient magic to the ancient heart, the earth, the anagram. It's why earth is the heart. The seers say the fallen are stealing our names. But we don't have to live violated. We don't have to live broken. We don't have to dream in victimhood. There are better ways to remember. There are better ways still to transform. Some of us are hungry for this transformation. Some of us eat what you are afraid of, what binds you, so that you may move unmolested. Some of us will move heaven and earth so that you may find your freedom. We're still here. In the outer perimeter, perhaps, but we're still here. And I've been thinking about the nature of the thresholds, the liminal spaces, I guess, the indiscrete boundaries. What kind of things exist on the edges of our perception? What truly makes you human? I don't have a complete or a definite answer to those questions. And I don't think it's even wise. And I don't think even the wisest and the most brilliant amongst us knows for sure. We all have partial truth, intuitions, maybe even suspicions. But in the end, that's all any of us can hope for. That the sense of meaningfulness comes from our relationships with those partial truths and our half-remembered visions and our relationships with each other. I don't believe for a second that we are living in a dead mechanical universe. Although I'm aware that there are those who honestly do believe that and certainly act like it. But for me, the universe is a dangerous and magical place, full of signs and portents, non-local connections masquerading as chaos. That has been my experience, and I'd be a fool to deny what I've seen. Knowledge is power. Power can be raw, unrefined, incredibly destructive. Put it another way, how can we come to truly know ourselves without destroying ourselves? I think the answer is one of nuance, context. As with all important questions, there are tools available to you. Meditation, reflection, art, music, all of the wonderful pieces of magic out there. It's these tools that connect us to the wellspring, to the source, the spirit. Even if the spiritual realm is wholly metaphysical or metaphorical, they use meta a lot, so it's big. It's a big thing. But a subject-object, a polarity, seems to collapse at all deeper levels of reality. At these deeper levels, beyond the outer perimeter, the universe seems less like a machinist's construct and more like a work of art, an oblique dream, metaphor, symbolism, psycho-spiritual fractions, fictions. These are the tones on the palette with which we paint our lives, breaching the boundaries, testing the limits. It's integral for our psychological health. It's also truly dangerous and must be done with nuance, finesse. So who am I? And who are you? Do we know each other? Have we met before? Are we connected in some strange way? Perhaps we speak a strange shared language, a secret language that we learned in the dark, beyond the thresholds of what our oppressors can even comprehend, certainly more than they can imagine in their dull minds. They're boring. They're bored. And perhaps when we are standing in the presence of each other, we are once again witnessing the true divinity. We once again speak our secret native tongue, remembered again. My private life undergoes massive upheaval. Psychic, interior, spiritual life? Potent, symbolic, creepy. I think we're all noticing increased synchronicity, symbolism, coincidence. Something that often happens, especially when unforeseen energies feel particularly potent and need your attention. During these resonant times, because this time is dangerous and terrifying and incredibly powerful. I think we're experiencing an anticipation of what others around us are feeling and thinking, and vice versa. We are each other. If you listen to my voice, it's not my voice so much, or even what I say, that you enjoy. You're connecting to something else. What's behind the words? And I might be thinking of a particular concept or a notion or even a phrase, and then have that vocalized by someone in my vicinity. We keep looking at the same things around the same time, even if they're odd things. People are often telling me that I just anticipated their thoughts, or it almost like I extracted some private discourse, or took the words right out of their mouths, or they were looking at the same thing earlier today or yesterday or just when I said it. And these things are now commonplace, especially during the times of intense focus and major upheaval. A skeptic would explain these things away, these occurrences, as something delusional, a wishful thinking. And while my thoughts on these events may be completely delusional, I am not okay. I'm probably the craziest person you're ever going to meet. But I don't think it's wishful. I've not been someone who felt comfortable describing myself as psychic. As such, it's loaded, subjective, bragging in general. Not that I ever sought the approval of many. I'm happy to exist on the fringe, in the shadows. It's where I've lived my entire life. I know this terrain intimately. And rather that I see human consciousness and psychology as fundamentally interwoven with esoteric, psychic, fringe phenomenon. And apparently so does every government that exists right now. So we're a little bit the same kind of crazy. And I've always maintained that any classified military intelligence initiative would have two interlinked aspects: hardware and software. Hardware, in this context, weapons, technology developed within a black, unacknowledged project. It's black, so it's scary. Da, da, da. Software, infrastructure, administrators, and administration to support the developing hardware within the projects. Fundamentally, software in this context is also about full-scale weaponization of your consciousness. And this is openly admitted. Psi studies, pharmacological warfare, remote viewing projects, MK Ultra program conducted by the CIA speak legitimacy. All of these things tested on every soldier that's ever been. All of our souls, all of our soldiers have gone through this training. So don't be fooled. Things like MK Ultra and Psi research were not abandoned. Ever. Such projects continue. Right now. Money diverted. People can leave the Army, the Navy, the Marines, the space alien thing they're doing. But they're never out. This has been admitted. They are acquired, literally created from nothing to fund these classified projects. United States, many of these experiments designed special access programs overseen DoD, administrated NSA, the CIA, and all kinds of three-letter dark pathological a-holes, with the help of huge corporations. Facebook, Google. Many of them acknowledge these themselves as defense contractors, and they're surprising. It's vast, this interconnected web of deceit and espionage and exploitations. Again, don't be fooled. Don't think the government, the reality of classified black intel, is noble, essential, or even productive in any way. It's not. It's not about protecting from an enemy or protecting anyone in general. It's about the weaponization of the human population, unlocking the mysterious power of our consciousness so it can be used as hidden advantages within attack strategies, power acquisitions. We are ruled by friggin' Ferengi, which is the Archons. The law matters little. The law is only for you, not for them. The sanctity of human life matters not. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. I'll talk to you soon. Stay strong.